Volcanoes are amazing. I mean, they look cool, they do cool things, and they leave cool leftovers. And, let's be honest, most of them have pretty cool names, like Mount Papandayan. Hi, I'm Chris May, writer, producer, and host of This Day in Weather History, now in its second year from the Weather Network in Canada. It was the first ever eruption of Mount Papandayan, August 11th, 1772. This day in weather history. Without the activity of volcanoes, life would not have even been possible on Earth in the first place. Volcanoes keep the Earth warm and wet, and also fill our atmosphere with the necessary balance of oxygen, hydrogen, and other gases, while also filling our oceans with the essential minerals needed for life to form and sustain itself. Therefore, without this balance, we're not here. None of this is here, actually. Sound pretty heavy? It is. It's Earth science, one of my favorite subjects, and today we revisit nearly 250 years ago when one of the greatest life-giving vents to the center of the Earth jumped to life for the first time. The Mount Papandayan area is a popular tourist site, as you would expect. Just like volcano sites around the world, they are awe-inspiring to humans as we know just how powerful, awesome, and deadly they are all at the same time. At this one, you can walk across the crater and view natural bubbling mud pools, steam vents, and sulfur deposits. On August 11th, 1772, Mount Papandayan erupted for the very first time, causing the northeast ridge of this great mountain to collapse. This produced a catastrophic debris avalanche that destroyed 40 villages and killed nearly 3,000 people. Welcome to year 2 of this podcast. Right now, you're listening to the full version of today's story on your favorite podcast provider. But there's also the daily podcast video short. They're shot right here in my podcast recording studio, so you get that perspective. But oftentimes, they will include visuals from that day's event, from when it happened, in weather history. So after listening to the full story, go check out the podcast video short on television or online anytime at theweathernetwork.com/weather history. The eruption really defined the future features of this mountain with more of a broad shape with 2 peaks, making the mountain appear as though it was actually a twin volcano. The Alun crater is in the middle with 2 peaks. One of the peaks is called Papandayan and the other Mount Puntang. Since 1772, only small eruptions were recorded before an explosive eruption that began November of 2002. But that is another story for another time. Because today is dedicated to Mount Papandayan 1772. It is a complex stratovolcano located in the Garut Regency to the southeast of the city of Bandung in West Java, Indonesia. These 2 types of volcanoes are both the most attractive to the eye, but the most deadly at the same time. They have that Hollywood-style conical shape that we see in movies because the lava cools and hardens quickly, building up many layers over time, and that creates that signature taller, steep shape. But they are also the most dangerous volcanoes to humans and animals because of how explosive they are, producing toxic gas and flying volcanic fragments. At the summit of Mount Papandayan, there are 4 craters, and they're all active. It is also part of the Pacific Ring of Fire that lines the Asian Pacific Rim as well as the Pacific coastlines of both North and the South American continents. One of the craters is called the Golden Crater. Now, it's called this because its color is actually close to a golden color caused by the buildup of golden sulfur. So that was the first eruption. How have things been since, or more recently? Well, it's actually been quite active recently, to tell you the truth. As a matter of fact, on August 13th, 2011, the volcano's early warning status was lifted from level 2, vigilant, to level 3, alert. This came after a series of long-period events, an increase of volcano-tectonic earthquakes, and an extremely high, 100%, of measured carbon dioxide gas in the ground at the summit of the crater. This had all the ingredients for the potential explosive eruption. And then almost 1 full month later, on Friday, September 2nd of 2011, the Indonesian Volcanology and Geophysical Disaster Mitigation Center reported volcanic activity, established by monitoring numerous shallow volcanic earthquakes. In conclusion is some important perspective. The Indonesian National Disaster Management Agency noted that if Mount Papandayan were ever to fully erupt, over 170,000 people now living in nearby sub-districts and villages would be affected, including the immediate evacuation of as many as 11,500. That all got started with Mount Papandayan when it first blew its stack, this day in weather history. Tomorrow is August 12th, and I'm hitting up another story that, although it is not a direct weather story, it did change the perception of the weather through a groundbreaking film whose primary plotline was the weather. I'm talking about, of course, the Academy Award-winning classic, The Wizard of Oz. This film changed everything. And in its run-up to a wide release, it was test-marketed in a few places, and tomorrow you will live it again. August 12th, 1939, this day in weather history with me, your host, Chris May.